What's up guys, today we're going to show you how to install this Crawltech bumper into a Jeep JL. Let's get started. Alright, if you're new here, to make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Our motto is to just entertain, educate, and prepare you to tackle any automotive task you thought was otherwise impossible. Let's do it.
Okay guys, first thing we need to do is get your Jeep up and in a place where you can work on it. Make sure you don't hit anything, I almost did here. And get everything out of the way so you can do some work under here. The next step, we're going to need to remove the rear bumper. So there's some bolts here, bolts there, bolts everywhere. Basically you just want to start unbolting all of these bolts until this thing starts to come loose, and there's quite a few of them all over the place. There's ones on the back here, there's ones on the side, and eventually if you get enough off you'll be able to slide this sucker off. Alright, that thing's a beaut. Check it out. So this thing is mostly plastic. You'll need to remove these little pieces right here and you'll end up with something like this. Okay, lay your new bumper out on the table along with the old one and flip the old one over. If you're going to be reusing the backup sensors, you'll need to remove all of these bolts. There's about 1,500 of them. And there's about 8,000 pieces of this bumper. To remove these little clips, you're going to push in with the screwdriver and then pull up. And there's 3 of them on each side. You'll need to remove this inner plastic piece. You'll need to remove these sensors. And you'll need to take all this out, basically just to get the wiring harness out. So flip that piece over and then pop your wiring harness off. Now these sensors beep at you whenever you're backing up if there's something behind you. You don't have to reuse those, but you can if you want to. So now this Crawltech bumper is set up pretty nicely. It comes packaged as it goes together. So these zip ties kind of hold it together so you can see what brackets go where. If I did this again, probably wouldn't even need to take this bracket over to the Jeep, but that, my friend, is where your bracket is gonna go, somewhere right about there. And if you'll look, you'll need to add some sort of spacers or washers onto these bolts so that they don't bottom out before they hit the end of the shank. Now there's 4 holes in your new bumper and there's 4 sensors, but if you have the Sport version and not a Rubicon, your sensors are going to be a little different. So you'll need either adapters that Crawltech also sells, you can get them from Mopar as well, or you'll need to put these caps in if you don't want to use them at all. I'll put some more information below in the description box on how to adapt these sensors to your bumper, but for now I'm going to use these caps and drill them out to fit the sensor like so. Now these little inserts are kind of a cool factor, and you just pop those in and you'll bolt them in from the back side, and you can see that sensor there that I drilled out and put in. Now this piece is zip tied in when it comes as well, and it is going to hold the light bar, so we're going to bolt that in. Everything's pretty self-explanatory the way this goes together. Now all light bars are a little bit different, so you're going to bolt your bracket to your light bar, and this piece, this gold piece here, is notched to fit different size light bars, and then you'll get it situated like so. And then you'll need to put your harness back in here and clip it into those backup sensors and kind of zip tie it up and out of the way across the bottom back side of the bumper. And then put your bracket in here. This is going to be what holds it to the Jeep. And then find yourself a helper and slide it onto the frame of the Jeep. It can be a little tight, so you might want to leave those bolts loose, but if you do, it's going to be harder to fight and get them tightened once your bumper is on. Next, you'll put the bolts in from the factory bolts that hold the original bumper on, tighten those down, and then you're going to need to put your wiring harness in and zip tie it up. Now the old factory bumper had a license plate light, and so I have cut the harness and extended the wires here to account for that. We're going to put new lights for the license plate. And here's a neat little trick. If you want to tidy those up, you can just spin them and make it nice and tidy with a drill. So next, we're going to attach those backup lights and attach the light bar part of the rear bumper. Some of these bolts are already threaded, and some you'll need to put a nut on the back side. And then this little bracket here goes up, and you'll use the factory bolts to hold that to the frame. And then on the other side, I had to drill a 1/2-inch hole. I think it depends on if you have the Sport or the Rubicon package. And then this nutsert was included. So you just put it through that hole, pop it back over, and it's a nice way to locate the nuts without having to fish around for them on the inside. You can just hold them by this stick of metal here and then tighten those up. That'll make the bottom of the bumper nice and tight. And then put all the rest of the stainless steel hardware in. And then your license plate bracket, if you're going to do that, it kind of sits off to the side here and bolts in. I am using these LED light bolts. I'll leave a link below where you can find these on Amazon if you're interested. But basically they're going to light up the license plate, which is a requirement by law in some states, probably all states I'd imagine. And I'm heat shrinking that to that wire that I showed you earlier. Then to keep from rewiring everything, if I have to change the license plate, I just drilled it larger on those two bolts. And check this out. Oh, doesn't that look nice? Now for the light bar, you'll need to wire that to a switch and a fuse and a relay or whatever you want to do there. I've already installed a relay box, so I just need to get that wire all the way up to the engine bay where this relay box is. And if you've been watching, I installed this in a previous video. It's called the VO switch, and it's already got a switch inside. We just need to wire the hot to the hot and the ground to the ground, and we'll be in business. So it just takes a little wire terminal there, tighten that down to number 5, pop the lid back on, and check this out.
So that was a fun video. Sometimes it's nice to do a voiceover video, and that way I can listen to music in the shop. I don't have to sit there for hours at a time in silence like I normally do. So sometimes that's fun to do those voiceovers. Cars every 5 seconds around here. So about the bumper, I don't have any complaints. This thing looks great. It matches the front bumper. It's the same brand, the Crawltech. I'll leave a link down below if you want to check it out. It has a light bar inside of it. You couldn't ask for anything better than that. It's got attachment points for your shackles. It includes the backup sensor ports. It's got a place for the receiver if you have a tow hitch receiver. And it looks to be pretty sturdy and stout. The only thing that I would change about it is the license plate bracket on the side over there. I think in the future I'll probably get a bracket or make one that goes up here, because over there it just kind of sticks out too far on the outside of the vehicle. And if you were to go off-road, diesel, if you were to go off-road, and in fact I've seen one of these off-road, and the license plate got got snagged on something, because you can tell it's about 4 inches outside of the body lines, and it has to be that way because of the door opening up, and that's where the factory one sits. But now serious off-roaders are going to want somewhere else to put that license plate. But other than that, it was a pretty basic, simple install, not too bad. I think taking the factory one off was the hardest part of the whole process, and doing the wiring of the light bar if you don't have that S-pod or switch pod or whatever kind of pod you have. If you don't have that set up, maybe doing the wiring would be a little pain, because you have to go all the way with your wires to the front of the vehicle or inside the cab or wherever you're going to put your switch and relay box. But other than that, great, love it, and thank you guys so much for watching the video. Make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you are not a subscriber. Remember, our motto is just entertain, educate, and prepare you to tackle any automotive task that you thought was otherwise impossible. That's a mouthful. Just entertain, educate, and prepare. Can I say that? Do you guys understand what that means? Make sure to leave a comment down below, and we'll see you in the next video.